Hi, greetings, brothers and sisters. Let me fix this up. Greetings, greetings, greetings. How y'all doing? Sister Yaa coming at you today. Gotta fix up the girls. You're showing too much flesh. Anyway, how y'all doing? We'll be with you momentarily, waiting for Queen Diambi to get herself together and come on in the live stream. And while I wait on her to do that, I'll just do a little bit of house cleaning. Um, for those who did try to donate on Africa Day with the and we're having some difficulties with the donor box link. All of that's cleared up. Stripe has finished their verification process. So we're good to go on that end in terms of being able to accept donations via Stripe on the donor box. So also, we have some announcements coming up on Juneteenth. The Alliance members and I will be coming back to you with some updates and some things that we're going to be offering to donors. Different things. Those who are in Sankofa Repatriation Assistance Program, who are donating, who are looking to repatriate. So what we decided were we're going to go ahead and try to get some of those offerings like the business development and the cultural reintegration course. And also we're working on getting somebody to teach some language courses with Tree, Wolof, and stuff like that. So, but of course, these people are not doing any of these things, well, not the language. The language is not going to be free. So, but we working out something to be able to get classes coming in. And we'll, cover those costs for you all based on your level of donation. But we're working that out. We'll have the announcements. We'll have everything worked out on Juneteenth. So be looking forward to that. And Sankofa will be, we're working on the curriculum for the cultural integration, as well as I'm in talks with a professor actually from one of the universities in Ghana regarding helping us with the business development course for doing business in Africa. So we are working for you to get some things together. I think y'all are going to be excited with the stuff that we're going to be bringing out. Hello, Kwame Olatunje. How you doing? Hi, Claudia. So I'm very excited about those things and being able to bring you all, some resources y'all waiting on. So let me just put the donor box link up for those who want to, go back and try to donate. This is not something that we can lose momentum on. If the people really want this to work, then the donations, everybody has to be spreading the word. We need those donations. Okay. We're not going to be able to provide housing without money. We're not going to be able to do all the things that we want to do for you all in terms of repatriation assistance without funding. So really it's in the people's hand. We're waiting on dear Sister Queen Diambi from the Congo to come and give us a word, try to give us a word of encouragement regarding what's going on. There's a lot happening right now. Everybody is feeling the anxiety, the protests all over, not only just the United States, but also all over the world. Police still killing Black people. It's like they haven't stopped. This shit is crazy. They have not stopped. I don't know how many of you heard about the Gambian diplomat's son in Georgia who was killed a few days ago. Just shot him down. Now, these people lie so much now. They said the young brother had a gun, but his family said they don't believe that. And because we do know these people do lie. They stay lying. They do not tell the truth. You just don't know what to believe. So I can't accept anything. I worked as a prosecutor. A lot of y'all know for many years in the U.S. Virgin Islands, and I myself would catch the police lying so much I would be like, ugh, So I personally don't believe anything they say because I working with them, I caught them in lies. You know what I'm saying? So the queen is here. So let's get this show on the road.
Hello everyone. How are you?
Hello, Your Highness. How are
Hello,
you?
my sister. I'm doing well, thank you. How are you? I'm
I'm fine.
okay.
Welcome,
I'm
welcome.
I'm happy to be here
And
with
I
you
know
today.
I know that we cannot start without the libation. So,
Fantastic.
do you have your water?
Well, I do. Do you have yours? Wonderful, my sister. Wonderful. This is great. So you are the host, and normally you are the one to do the libation, but if you want, I can do it again today.
I
But
would turn the honor over to you.
Okay, okay. So
Okay.
this time I will just do a brief explanation of what libation is. I'm not gonna go in length. If people want to know, they can always go to one of our previous, shows where I explain what libation is. So libation is basically a very sacred moment that we take to really bring our collective, consciousness together, make an agreement that we're going to be talking in peace, in harmony, and we're going to bring only love, but only and light into what is it that we're going to do today and what we're going to talk about. We also giving reverence to our ancestors because without our ancestors, we wouldn't be here. So some of our ancestors, of course, are blood relatives, but we have also the other ancestors who have inspired us, who fought for us to be free today and to have the voice that we have today. So this is what we are really doing, and also to thank the first ancestor of humanity, which is the primordial source of life itself. Some people may call it God, some people may call it, noon, some people may call it the universe, whatever, but it's that force, that principle that is the force of life. So the reason why we do libation with water is to symbolize a few things. First, symbolize life, because without water there is no life. We all are made of water. Our planet is made of water. The second thing is water is a cleanser, can cleanse and purify. So because we are coming here to gather, because we are talking about some concerns and we want to heal our community, we bring water to purify and to cleanse. The third symbol is about the malleability, flexibility of water. It gives us inspiration that when we are in any situation, we are like water, we can find our way and we can, overcome any obstacle that is in front of us. And the last but not least is the strength of water, because the water may be malleable, you can divide it in little droplets, but when water rises, when you ferment water, when water rises, it can really then overcome anything, and it can be more powerful than anything that we can see on the planet. So this is why we pour libation, and the process is very simple. You have to take a cup. This is usually done outside, but since we're not going to outside, I'm going to just do it inside. And I have a little clay pot that represents the earth and the ancestors. And this is a little bit of water that you take, and all you have to do is by pouring libation, we pour libation to give grace to all our ancestors, the ones who have come before us, to live this life so that we can be here today, all the fights that they put forth and every challenge they overcame, so we can be here today. We give thanks and we give libation to all the ancestors that have fought for us, even though we're not related to them, but fought for freedom and liberty and equality, and gave us the opportunity to know all that we know, so we are here today. I give thanks to the primordial ancestor that is the source of all life, and we give also thanks to everything that we're going to bring today, all of us together in this meeting. And I make sure that we say only the good things, and we say the things that are on our heart. We say, we speak our mind, and that everything that we do is to elevate humanity, and it's for the good of the community. Ashe, thank you. And this is really basically what it is about.
All right.
Thank you very
Ashe.
much.
Ashe.
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 Ashe. You can say Ashe. You can say Amon. You can say Ayo, depending on the language that you use. But Ashe really means may it be done according to our desire or the desire of the divine. May everything that we said, if it's in concordance with the divine design, may it be done. Yes, that's what it is.
Right, right. All right. Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on today. We just wanted to bring you on, to have you say a word to our people. You know, our people are going through a lot emotionally. There's a lot happening all over, not just in America, but all over the world. Black people and other people are standing up and saying, what's happening to our people, the racial discrimination, that enough is enough. And one of the good things that I see happening out of this is that African people around the world, no matter where we are uniting around this common theme, this common cause of, no more killing our people, no more discrimination. And basically we're saying all over the world, that it can't happen. This can't continue to happen. So I'm so happy when I see our brothers and sisters on the African continent speaking out on behalf of us over here and what they see happening. It really makes me feel loved and a part of the one African body, and that people do care about what's happening to us. Our people do care. So that really does mean a lot to me. We had the Minister of Tourism in Ghana that came out and said, you all don't have to stay where you're not wanted. You can make your way back home. You can come back home. So, and that really did something for me. You know what I mean? A lot of our people have been contacting me and expressing their desire to go home, which is why I created the Sankofa Repatriation Assistance Program in the first place. So we wanted to have you, one of our conscious and Pan-African queens from the continent, who knows, who is sees firsthand, who grew up outside of the African continent. So what we're dealing with. So we wanted to bring you on to have you to give some words of encouragement and love and peace to our people in these trying times.
Yes, thank you very, very much, my sister, for inviting me. As custom requires, I am going to state my name and my status because people need to know who is speaking and on behalf of who. So my name is Queen Diambi Kabatusuila Chirumwasa. I am Mukalenga Mukaji Wankashama of the Bakwaluntu people of the Luba Empire of Kasai in Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo. I am also Queen Mother of the Bantu people of Brazil, the African descendants of Brazil. And this is, those are the people who gave me authority and power to speak on their behalf. And I also am a representative of the ancestor because I'm a custodian of the traditions, and I represent the lineage of our history as well for our people. So I'm just a symbol. I'm just here to serve my people. And this is what this crown is about. This crown is not about me and adorning myself. All this I have on me is to show the beauty and the wealth of my people, as the Maoris are representative of wealth. And so I'm here as a symbol that my people can use to carry forth the words of their desires and aspirations, and also to talk wisdom of the ancestors. So yes, first of all, it's important that we talk about the fact that, I'm very, very devastated myself by the suffering that I've seen across the world, that our people have gone through for so long. And of course, I want to first, give my condolences to all the families and friends of the ones who've lost life so unjustly in the most recent, manifestation that we see with Floyd. But there have been so many more, thousands more, and for many of those, we don't even have names for them. And there are many of them that have been forgotten by history because they have no grave. and for many, many thousands of people who have suffered in their flesh and in their soul from this kind of torture, we have to give reverence and we have to give our best sentiments and condolences. So that's the first thing. And I think in Africa, we really don't have a word for condolences because we know that when we pass, we go on to another life. So it's really the life of that we have to celebrate, that transition, that they become ancestors, our parents, our friends become ancestors. So there is a great reason to celebrate because when they are strong people and they have done or accomplished amazing things, they become ancestors and they fuel us with their wisdom and with their understanding of reality. So that's the first thing. I've been crowned 4 years ago, but even before that, I was always very much concerned about, the wellness of the African people because I grew up in Kinshasa. I was born in Europe. When I was 6 months old, I went to live in Africa, and I lived in regular neighborhoods, not with wealthy people, regular people. And of course, I saw the struggle and my family struggle also, although we came from a royal family, but that was in another territory. That was not in Kinshasa. And also, that was from the ancient kingdom. So many things had happened since for us to lose our privileges and our wealth. But I saw the difference between people who had and people who had not. And oftentimes, I saw that people who had were really people who were closest to the powers and the power, political power, and also the people who were closer to pleasing, the Western, interests or working for the Western interests. So if you work for a European company or if you were working in a government that was, carrying on the agenda of the Western, benefits, usually you had a good life. So you would get rewarded for you to kind of live a life or give your life to some principle that were more Western centric rather than African principles. So the inequality, I really noticed it very, very early on. I was lucky to be born in a family where my father was a diplomat. First, when I was born, he was really a low-ranking diplomat, and then he rose to the top of civil service. So I was always, I always had food, I always had a home, I went to the good schools and so forth. In Africa, when you grow up in Africa, as you, my sister, have been in Africa, you can see the differences so bluntly. You can see the haves and the have-nots, and of course, the great majority of people are the have-nots, and the small minority are the have. And one thing is interesting when you look at the haves, and since I was among those people, because my father, eventually became a high-ranking civil servant, is that in the haves, it's like the more Europeanized we are, the better it is. We want to live like in Europe, the homes like in Europe, dress like in Europe, speak, French or English or, and I appreciate, cultures like Europe. Most of the homes that I went to of people with money in Africa, they didn't have anything like the map that you see behind me or some kind of art. Everything was very much Europeanized. So in the core value of the people leading the countries, we see that there's a tendency to venerate anything that's foreign, anything that is Western. So that was already something that I grew up with. Then we had, of course, exposure to the United States because we had television. So we would see what would happen to America. And America was really the dream for everyone. Everybody wanted to be cool in America. But see, as Black, how do we position ourselves, comparing to the American dream? So we saw two sides of the American so-called dream. We saw majority of Europeans, living, a preferential lifestyle, and few Africans or Black people would have also access to that. If they were talented in sports or entertainment, they had, a right to have a piece of the American dream. But for the rest, the great majority of Blacks, just like in Africa, majority of the people live in poverty. And also, on top of that, there was a stigma of violence, stigma of bad behaviors like prostitution and gang drug use and all that stuff. So those were really the stereotypes that we grew up with. So in one hand, we looked at the African Americans as being the more preferable African to look like or to be like because they were kind of westernized. So, that's always the scheme, that those are westernized Black people. And for many, they didn't even know that African Americans came from Africa. Many people in Africa, even to this day, believe that Africans are just indigenous from different places in the world. So that you guys are indigenous to Africa, to America. I will explain why a little later. So when I first came to the United States,
Your Highness, so a couple people are saying that your sound is kind of bad. So I don't know if there's anything.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this off. Allow me.
Okay.
How is it now? Can anybody give you
it's really good.
Better?
It's better.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
So the device that wasn't working. So
right.
so then growing up in Africa and comparing the situation, the differences between the haves and the have not, we understood that the ones who had usually had a tendency to prefer European values and European lifestyle. And stigma of traditional values were that it was evil, it was bad, it was not intelligent, there was nothing to it. But the future of Africa will lay into us adopting Western values and Western culture. So denying our African traditions, our African identity, and adopt all that is European because it was better. So the more European you were, the better you were looked upon, the more chances you had to get a good job, a good opportunities, and so forth. So when we look at the image that was reflecting from us from America, we had, like I said, two poles. We had the European on one side who were doing like the European in Europe very well. And then we had a few Africans that were doing okay, but most of them were not. But then with that came a stigma that they were dangerous, that they were violent, they were using drugs, they were criminals, prostitutes, but they were not people that we should be, aspiring to be even in contact with. So we had like a fear. So when I first came to the United States, because I still wanted to come, I still dream about coming to the United States because it's an amazing country, especially to see the accomplishment that a lot of the African people and people looking like me had done. So I wanted to know a little more, and I was passionate about coming here. And I would say it was mainly the music that had opened my heart and my mind to be curious, to meet with the people who are the ingenious people behind, this manifestation of our culture. So when I first came here, I realized that I really didn't know much about African Americans at all, that all these cliches were wrong. And that was not the reality on the ground. Yes, a reality was that most Africans were not, African Americans didn't have access to the resources. Just like at home, majority of the people did not have resources. To access to resources. The ones who did were the one who composed with the Western powers. The ones who basically we call them Mundelindombe. Mundelindombe means you are black, but you are black on skin, but you are white inside. So we have our white people that are black. So we call them Mundelindombe. So those people were the ones who would get all the benefits and live a good life if you surrendered a lot of your Africanness. So I find that the same was here, but not in the same proportions. So majority of the people that I met here, African Americans that I met when I was a younger person in college, were absolutely fantastic people, amazing, working families, beautifully raised children, intellectuals, and they knew so much, and they knew even more about Africa than I knew. And they were curious, and they were asking me questions, and I was like, oh my God, I realized that although I lived in Africa, I grew up there. I went to Africa. I grew up to Africa till I was about 16. I really didn't know much about Africa besides my own experience, my own life experience as a girl who grew up in Kinshasa in the city. So when they were asking me questions about the village, I was like, I never even been in a village before. When they were asking me questions about traditions and so forth, I remember seeing things more like it's folklore, but not really anything else. Like, oh, it's a folklore, it's like carnival. Let's have the drums and the people with the mask, and it was not something that was tied to like spiritual values or moral values.
Your identity.
I didn't know that, but we saw it every day. We on TV, we saw some people dancing, drumming, and it was part of our music and so forth. But we were kind of like automatically connected without never understanding what was behind. But when I got here, I met people who had studied extensively about our culture, who could really break it down to me more than I could ever explain. So I really learned a lot about Africa here. I'm going to say this. I know in Africa we are Africans, of course, and we are connected and so. But we have gone through also many years of brain, watching where they say anything African is bad, anything African is dangerous, and the religions that came from the West and the East said, "Oh my God, no, we have Christianity for you. Everything your ancestors were practicing is evil, is for Satan, and everything that we are bringing you is really good, is for God. And then now, because you're gonna be with God, you're gonna be blessed. If you're not with us, you're not with us." So it was really clear that people were making effort because African people are very spiritual by nature. We invented God. Invented the notion of God. We are the first one who understood that there was a hole in which we are the one who did all of that, and thousands of years before. But because of the situation in which we found ourselves with the human trafficking period of over almost 400 years, and then colonization of over 100 years after that, we were really brutally damaged. Our memory was damaged, our memory of who we were. So whatever they told us we accepted those were the tenets that were correct, which I know now more than ever that they are not correct. So coming to America for me was really an amazing experience because I realized that not all the American, because back then I remember many people didn't even want to be called African American. Many people, "Oh no, I'm not, I'm American, I'm Black from America, I don't have anything to do with Africa." And I understand also why they did that, because they told them Africa is a bunch of savages. Haven't you seen King Kong? Haven't you seen Tarzan? You want to be associated with these people? You sure? No. So this work was really insidious to really make sure we didn't want anything to do with Africa. But thanks to these ancestors for which I have poor libations, all the ones that dug and opened up our minds and told us the truth, because they find out the truth about who we were. There are people like the Shekanta Diop who came and said, "No, Egypt was Africa, and came from Congo. The people of Egypt are originally from the Great Lakes, and look at what they did. And to realize that everything that we give so much value to actually have its foundation, and not only its foundation, but its elaboration in the minds of Africans, just like you, just like me." So that really made a difference. And the more I studied, the more I realized that the world would be such a different world if only we were to apply the values of our ancestors, of our African ancestors, all over the place, not just African. Of non-violence, of, living in harmony with nature, making sure that there is no price to life, that life is by far the most sacred principle. You cannot take a life, you cannot put anybody in bondage, because no one in Africa was ever enslaved. When they tell you it's not true, it's not true. They have proof of everything that I'm saying. There are many references that I can give you of major scholars in all parts of the globe, in Asia, in Africa, in America, in the Caribbean, who have done extensive work to debunk all those lies that have been told about African people to African people, but also to European people and to all the other people. Because the treatment we have all over the world takes its source in the fact that they dehumanize Africa. And how do you dehumanize a people? You dehumanize a people by just making believe that they are nothing but a body, like an animal, that they have no history, that they have no values, that they have accomplished nothing, that they don't know anything, that they don't think. They're just purely living by instinct like an animal. So this is why the only way to go about recovering our Ubuntu-ness, our humanhood, not humanity, because we never left our humanity. They dehumanized us, but we never been other than human or So in order for us to reconnect with our humanhood, we have to reconnect with who we are. And those phrases as know thyself, they don't come from some, Middle Eastern culture. Those are really from the ground, from the source of the African, civilizations. We have to know who we are. And, I see what's going on. Yeah, we see the manifestation or the demonstration, the marches and everything. And I'm very happy for all of that. However, it's not enough. It's not enough, because if it was enough, the first march that happened 50 years ago, 60 years ago, 80 years ago, that march would have settled. It did. And I'm not saying that they don't have the importance. They do have the importance to signal there is a shift. There have to be a shift in the way we relate to issues of racism and violence that we have faced. Because the violence is not just a physical violence. The violence is a mental violence, is an emotional violence that we've been living from the very beginning. When you tell the story of African people, and you know that we were very pacifist people, we welcomed everybody on our land. From way beyond antiquity, many people came to learn, to go to our universities. All those famous Greek philosophers and fathers of medicine and all that stuff, they say themselves that they studied in Africa with African Black people. When they copied their text, they forgot to mention that they deleted and they edited these parts. But all they know themselves where they got the information from. And when they strip us from our history, they strip us from our values. They strip us from our understanding of reality. They strip us from language. They strip us from the essential principle that guide our path into life. Those are all as much as a knee or baton or bullet or a cord to hang us, because those are taking away our humanhood. And so long as we see ourselves through those that prism, we will also have doubts about who we are, because we can only accept to be treated a certain way if we believe it's true. Now it's a great day. I'm so happy to be alive again during this time, because yes, we have to show that we don't want to go back. This is not going to happen. But once we have mobilized, once we have marched, then after what happened? This is what we need to
do. We have to organize.
We have to organize. And the foundation of our ability to organize comes from our power. How do we understand our power? What power do we have when we know that we live in the worst neighborhoods, when we know that we go to the worst schools, when we know that we have the least money from everybody, when we know that we have the worst food, the worst healthcare? How does that make us feel powerful? Everything out there tells us that we are not, and yet again we are. The mere fact that we are here today, you are here and I'm here, and we're talking to each other and we are having this conversation, proves how powerful we are. Because we went through all this ordeal of severe abuse during the time of the human trafficking for centuries, where people could just jump into your home, rip you from your mother's arms, beat you away from your father's embrace, yank your father or brother, and just go and put them on the boat with thousands of people that they never met before, with language that they never heard before. And yet again, these people came here, and yet again, they are here still today. They went and they put them in places that they'd never seen before, climates that they never knew about, that freezing cold, and they could new nature, new trees, new food, everything. And despite all of that, they adapted. And for the ones who stayed, despite the fact that majority of the community were ripped apart, they still went through and. So when you think about that, you have to ask yourself, what kind of civilization what kind of culture, what kind of diet, what kind of mindset these people had for them to be so strong that 4 centuries, actually more than 4 centuries, I will add the 4 centuries of the Eastern human done by the Arabs, because we never talk about that one, because 800 years ago, we didn't break. We cried, we died, we kneeled, we fell, but we did not break. Because if we did, we wouldn't be here today. So it just gives a strong testimony to the power of that culture that produced individuals that were so sane, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically, that they were able to endure these kind of things and yet again rise. Despite all we see, despite everything that doesn't work, we are here. So long as we are here, we can make a difference.
That's true.
And that's what our ancestors bet on. They bet on. They say, regardless of the fact that today I have no freedom, tomorrow maybe I will, and so forth. So they bet on life. And this is a power that no one can take away. But where is the source of that power? Of course, it's a divine power, because we believe we are an emanation of the divine principle itself. I said the first ancestor is God.
Yes.
A manifestation. So we know deep down spiritually we are anchored into the belief that we are an emanation of the divine principle that is the all and create all. But besides that, because of that, what kind of civilizations have put forth? What kind of culture have come forth with this belief of who we were? We respect balance in nature. Many people say sometimes, oh, in Africa, you do sacrifices and you kill animals and you sacrifice animals. And I said, you got it all wrong. This is not really what happened. What happened, all the praying and all this that happened, is actually a prayer of almost like asking for forgiveness for taking a life. Because that life essence has the same value as our life essence. Right. So when we do the prayer, we really telling that we need to use your life in order to carry on life, feed our families, there's so many rituals before people go to hunt. And when they come back from hunting, because they have blood on their hands, they're going to be cleansing and ritual to appease nature and to make sure that we have a tenet that we're going to use everything in an efficient way, meaning we're not going to throw anything away. That's why we wear teeth. That's why we wear skin, animal skin. That's why we use bones to do tools or music instruments, because we respect that life so much that for the price of the life we took, we're going to imbue life again into everything that animal has given. So we giving protein for us, but also gives into community a lot of other things. So there are a lot of things that we learn when we understand the culture. But so long as we are close and we let people tell us who we are, we don't understand our potency. So once we have marched, what next?
Right. That is the question.
I love, I'm glad we say, put the Black Lives Matters. Who do we want to convince? Who is it that we want to convince? We have to be convinced ourselves that our life matters.
Right.
And we have to be convinced that Black life matters to us more than Black death matters to us.
Yeah.
Because it's when there is Black death that we go out there and then we march and then we say this and we say that, we say no more, fine. But then after saying that, then we have to take on the responsibility to ensure that our life matters. So we have to start recognizing where is our power. My true belief, our power is in our culture. Culture is folklore. Our culture is the way we frame our mind to think about the best ways to carry forth our life and to live in prosperity and peace ourselves in our community. the culture that we have inherited from the West tells us everything but that.
Right.
Everything but that we have the right to equality, we have a right to prosperity, we have a right to peace. Because everything we see that is happening shows us exactly that. So culture is a way we have to reframe how we think about ourselves.
Right.
We have to become more versed in understanding the geopolitics, the dynamic of what's going on in this world, and we have to unite. Unity, I keep telling people, unity is a practice, just like prayer, just like yoga, just like any. Unity is not just, hey, united, let's, Unity is a practice. And it's a quite challenging one, as any practice. Any athlete, any musician, anybody, any writer, any scholar will tell you, nothing comes easy and nothing comes of just me saying, oh, I want to be a doctor. And poof, I'm a doctor. No, you're going to be a doctor. Study, you're going to practice, you're going to fail, you're going to succeed. So unity is a practice, but it's something that we have to decide to endorse and say it's time. We have to unite. We have to realize what unity means. Unity doesn't mean unicity. Unity doesn't mean, oh, we have to be the same. We have to believe the same thing. We have to no, it's impossible. But unity is essential because we have to recognize each other for being part of this same group.
Right. Absolutely.
That faced with the same challenges.
Yes.
That has a common path through history to be where they are. So if we come from the same path, if you were abused in the Americas and I was abused in Africa, the same. They beat us, they lynch us, they hang us, they cut our hands, they rape our women, they rape our men, they kill our children. Same.
Yeah. And I think a lot of our people, Your Highness, on this side, don't know what happened to our people who were still left behind. They think they know what happened to us, but they don't know a lot of. They just think, oh, Africans helped white people to enslave us, and and this and that they went on living their lives normally after we were gone, and that's absolutely not what happened.
Not what happened, and that's why when I say unity is a practice, among this practice, and which is one of my major work, is to go and visit all the communities in the world of African people and engage into a dialogue. So we can recognize that we are the same family, we are the same people. And of course, not to forget that the history we know is the history that was given to us by the same people who came to oppress and abuse and use. So today we can say, well, we gave credit to what they told us, but today is no longer the time. Today is a new day.
Right.
All these things that they have told us have been challenged by amazing scholars, amazing on the ground with the documents that they themselves wrote, that it was not the case. Africa went under a war. It was what I call the First World War. For me, the First World War as an African person is not, 1418. The First World War, when all the European powers, not all, but most of European powers, British, French, Portuguese, Spanish, Belgian, and some of the Scandinavian countries, Italians came together to say, let's gang up. And we're going to go to the African continent and we're going to just create havoc and take whatever we want to take. Right. This is our First World War. Because when they get there, they meet kingdoms and well-organized societies with amazing balance in the communities, with universities that they didn't even have universities in Europe then. They find the first universities in Africa. That's the First World War, because that's what went on for centuries. The entire continent was at war. And of course, we lost the war. We lost the initiative because we didn't have not only the weapons, but also the mindset of using pure and brute, excessive violence against other human beings. It was completely out of our minds to function this way. So what came to us was something we were not prepared for. But we fought relentlessly. Many were killed. Many were killed. And this is only under those conditions that they were able to destabilize a lot of the kingdoms. Take away sometimes the kings. Pick one that knew either a brother or nephew or cousin for influence. And I'm not saying that there was no people that were traitors. There are always people that are going to be traitors no matter where. But to make it seem as though it was common practice for the African people to say, well, we're going to have people for sale. It's an aberration, and it does not comply to any of the principles of the Mahat of the ancient African, spiritual and legal system. Never in Africa have they had people enslaved. Never. Even in Egypt, that's all. It was all a beautiful story, but never existed because it was contrary to the laws of the countries and the principle in which they believed. So, not to say that after a complete, maybe a century of destabilization, where now they replace the kings, that they take away kingdoms and they chop off people, they place other people that are going to now do what they bid, of course. But you cannot dissociate those events from the fact that the Europeans were there first to create havoc. You cannot say, Africans were just selling people from the beginning of time on the coastlines. They had markets of human beings just waiting for Europeans to pass by. And Europeans went through and so, oh, look, the Africans are selling their brothers. Let's just go and buy some. No. The Europeans created the demand. They created the conditions on the ground so that this kind of practice can become practice in Africa. And yet again, we fought till the last blood. Because once you were enchained to go on these boats, believe it or not, the rest of the village that you were from was also chained to be deported in another on the ground. Or some of us, we were running away. We were running, like I was referring to that as being living like almost like refugees on the continent. Some kingdoms just disappeared and decayed. Some cities were burned to the ground, where you cannot even find a stone anymore of the major cities that used to be in Africa. Like the city of Mbanza, Congo, was the big capital of the Congo kingdom. It was a city when the Europeans got there, they were like, oh my God, we've never seen that. They felt like they were propulsed in time. They seen technologies and things that they never could imagine existed. And they wrote it. There are books now that we find with their own writing and their own drawings of what is it that they found in Africa. They find that they never even could imagine. They find sewer systems, ventilation system in architectures. They never seen anything like that. But this is not the story they're going to tell you. Once they
absolutely, and this is why they took us. We weren't. Well, they took us to come and build the same thing for them. This is why they took us. They didn't have the know-how, the skills, the technology. These people were, most of them just rogue scavengers and prisoners themselves, And so they took us to come and build for them what they saw us, what we had built in Africa.
Yes. So this is where, when I say we have to understand who we are, because that's what gives us power. Just look at what's going on today. This whole narrative about the Black man being dangerous and all the, where does that come from? It's come from a story. All this is about the propaganda. The fact that African people are stupid, they are savages, the fact that African people are lazy, the fact that all this comes from a story. A story that was passed on to their children and passed on and on and on. And that's what gave most of them the belief that they were better. It's a story, it's a training. It's not, you are not born like that. So the same way as they trained themselves to believe that we were inferiors and we were savages, and they had to break down everything that could have reminded us that we had, all of that. They even invented stories as Africa is an oral culture. They don't write anything. It's rubbish. They came to Africa, all kinds of
absolutely, because we are the ones who put alphabet to their language. They didn't even have a writing when they came into Egypt. It was our priests and scholars who, because they didn't have a writing. We are the ones who gave them the alphabet. This ABCD, we made that up for their language when they came in and took over. When the Romans came in and took over Egypt, we are the ones, because they, as with anything, when we see it today. In Ghana, they are speaking English. And in Togo, they are speaking French. In Congo, they are speaking French, because when invaders come, they force their language on you. So when they came into Egypt and they forced this language, their language, on our people, well, they didn't have a writing. We had writing. We had libraries. We had books. So we created the alphabet for their language, but they won't even admit those things. We created that. Yeah.
How they're going to go about it is going to tell you that they're going to chip a chunk of Africa and take it outside of Africa. They're going to say that Egypt is not Africa, because this is the convenience. When you have gone, or when you have run out of explanation, now you start changing the rule, what a continent is supposed to be like. So now they changed the rules, and they even, did their propaganda with showing Egypt that was all European people and so forth, which is absolutely not. I was in Egypt.
Your Highness, they will go so far as to say aliens did all of Egypt, rather than say we Africans did it. They will say, well, since we can't figure out how these pyramids were built, then it must have been aliens. They will go that far, rather than say that we did it.
So my sister, you got it. So that's where power comes from. Power comes from knowledge of self. So we don't have to be scholastic and only allow people to go to who have gone to university and who are able to access this kind of information. We have to make this information available to all our people all over the world. I will show you later. I was in Brazil and I went to visit my sons in jail, because the same justice system prevails over there, very unequal justice system, very unfair to our people. And a lot of the people in jail look like me, and they are my sons. So when I went to jail to speak with my sons and to embrace them and to tell them how beautiful they were, how brilliant they were, and who they were and who they came from, and I told them, you are the descendant of the pyramid builders. You will never be in jail. It's here. Once you are free here and here, no one can. These men, some of these men went and painted during their lunchtime. Instead of eating with us, they decided to go in the shop for crafting, and they painted the pyramids, a painting of the pyramids, and they gave it to me. They say, we are free now because we know that you're going to take our intellectual work, or our work that is now manifest, and you're going to take it all around the world. So that's how we gain power. We gain power by knowing who we are. We don't have to, I'm not saying that we have to go and get all the degrees and the PhDs, and that's not what we need. This is training. Of course, let's get as much knowledge as you can, but we need to make sure that the basic and fundamental knowledge about who we are is clear to all of us, so we can find out that we have a common denominator. Because Africa, we're just different families of the same people. You can go from east to west, north. We are the same people. They try to divide us and names of tribes and so on. So I can find myself in Ghana. I can find myself in Kenya. I can find myself in South Africa, in Namibia. And I guarantee you that as a woman of Congo, I will find myself home. And even in the United States, with my families here. Because guess what? Me being a student here, I came and I met African-American families, and I felt home. because they behave like me, they spoke like me, they had the same mannerism, we liked the same things. So it's like, it was like, wow, it's like looking at myself in the mirror when I see my sister.
Yeah.
So I was like, we are the same family. We vibrate with the same vibration, and it's a vibration that is extremely serene. But we have to go back to that place of peace. We have to know who we are, because once we know who we are, and once we realize because we are who we are from the same family, then we can connect with each other. Because what you have here as strength in the United States, you may have weaknesses that you cannot feel unless you connect with your brothers of Brazil, because they figured that one out. You may have figured this one out, but that one you haven't. But they have. So we have to start understanding that by uniting, it's really putting in the same pot our experience and the wealth that we have amassed and accumulated of our understanding and the knowledge and know-how and skills and our finances. Once we realize that when they beat up and kill a black man in China because he was dating a Chinese girl, and a couple of thugs came and beat him up and threw stones, we have to rise the same as when they have my son Floyd who is strangled because he can't breathe. Why do I have to be angry when that happened in America, but when that happened in China, I'm okay with it?
Right.
The same thing as you told me today, my sister. You said to hear from the Ghanaian minister, tell you, my daughter, my sister, don't worry about that. If they don't want you in America, we want you in Africa. You say, this change, this made me, there's something that's transforming you. And this may be what you need from me as being an African woman. Maybe this is what I bring to you. I bring to you the unconditional love of your motherland. But I have to know that you need it. Because when I left Africa first, I didn't think you needed anything, because you were the evolved black people. You were the black people that were closest to white people. You were the better off black people. I didn't know you were missing that part. But now that I know exactly what I can bring you. And you know what I need from you. Because you go to Africa now and you say, oh my God, how come things are not working smoothly here? What's going on here? We can improve that. We can change. We can help you with this. We can help, because everybody else come to Africa. They don't come to help anybody. They come to help themselves.
Yeah.
But once you know that your faith is linked to the faith of the African people on the continent, that will give you an incentive to give your best to build the African continent. So this is what unity can bring us. And it's something that we have to practice. First, we have to make a decision. We march, we say no more, enough. Okay, first step. Second step, we need to be together because together we are stronger. Okay, how do we do that? Learn about who you are. Gather, to make decision of pouring libation so that all the beef between communities is squashed, and we don't, the Cubs and the Cribs or whatever, these get crush it, because they're gonna kneel just the same. Blue shirt, red shirt, East Coast, West Coast,
right?
Spanish speaking black or African or English speaking African blacks, French speaking African blacks, from whichever island you think you come from, or whatever, they're gonna kneel on your neck just the same.
Absolutely.
Children in America, you think a couple is gonna say, "Oh, this is the child of an African woman from Africa and Europe," and no. When they see my son coming with the dreadlocks, and they're gonna say, "Oh, here comes the problem." Same.
Yeah.
So once
they just killed a young man from the Gambia a few days ago in Georgia. He was the son of a diplomat.
So if everybody that we see out there doesn't tell us with a huge sign, red blinking sign, time's up, unite. And our forefathers have done an amazing work to bring about this vision, because of course we couldn't have done it, before. Everybody was trying to catch a breath. But now that we are where we are now, we are equipped with ability to communicate and travel and see each other and meet each other. You have now access to more African people than you ever had before. We have access to America, to going to Brazil, to going to Cuba, to going to Jamaica, to speaking with others in London. The other day you were talking with our brother in London. So this is the moment, this is the time, because with very tools we can look at each other and recognize each other and work and pull towards the same direction. I am also an American African. I'm American too. I have nationality. I'm also a European African. I have nationality and I am African. So I have a say in what's going on, because I raised my children who are African American here, or what they like to call colored. There were colorless people, which is completely ridiculous. Okay, so we have the colored people and the colorless people.
Right.
Children here, and every day I have to get that little phone call or that little text, that little tick that I hear. I know, that is signaling me that I'm home, Mom. You can go to bed. Because I don't know that my children, my sons, are under a safe roof, I'm not in peace. I travel all the world, but every day I have to have that little thing. I'm home. Because my biggest fear is they're gonna get mugged or gonna get killed, because they're not gangsters. They're not behaving in bad places. They're not going to dangerous places. But I fear that maybe he will run across a police officer who will only see the color of his skin and his features and his hair, and those are gonna be signal that we have a shotgun here or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I have that same. As a mother, I have sons, and this is a concern. This is a huge and serious and real concern. I am not comfortable with my my children. Well, they're not. My eldest is 30, and then I have one that's 28, and I got one that's 25, and I'm not comfortable with them here. I'm not, absolutely. And I'm like you. I'm constantly texting, "Hey, how you doing? Everything okay? You all right? Be careful." And it's a terrible place to have to be. But I have a real fear. I have a real genuine fear, because all of my children are well over 6 feet tall, and I know that to a lot of people who are not Black, this is threatening. A Black man that's walking around 6'5" and 6'9", and I have really big, tall boys. You know what I mean? And to a lot of people, they just the mere presence of them is threatening. Although they wouldn't hurt a fly, they won't hurt anybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but this is the sick irony about this, is that the African people are the least violent people on the face of this planet. If we have to make a tally and say who is a dangerous individual, every time we have to make a tally, we would be the ones with the smallest record of violence against other people. They can say more violence against ourselves, but we are the least violent people on the face of this planet, and that's precisely because of our culture. That's precisely because of our wisdom and our understanding that everything belongs to God and everything emanates from God. So therefore, everything needs to be respected. Every life needs to be respected. We are also the first one who came with the law. The first record of a law, a code of law, is written in Africa. Thousands and thousands of years ago. Not just 100 years or 200 years or 1,000 or 2,000 years. Thousands of years ago. And when I say you have to know thyself, it's not just for the purpose of you knowing who you are. It's for the purpose of making sure that everybody else know who you are. Because it's very nice when we are in class and everybody's telling people about the accomplishment of every ancestor, or the Arab people did that, the white people did that, the Chinese did that, and then you are always the one left behind with, well, what did you do?
Yeah.
So now it's like, oh, no, no,
Now,
no. I'm going to do a presentation about how all the sciences that you know have come from Africa, and not only come as an embryonic form, as came in full force from Africa. How come Africa is still today the master of fractal mathematics, one of the most complex mathematical thinking that exists? Oh, architecture. Let's talk about architecture. Where do you see a building in the world that has been there for 4,000 years or 5,000 years? Africa. Oh, medicine. Oh, well, who they say pledge allegiance to Hippocrates for when you're a doctor. But where did Hippocrates study? Hippocrates studied under
in Egypt.
Imhotep.
Imhotep.
The father of medicine, who's a black guy, an African guy. So I want my children to know these things because they need to tell all the other ones why I am who I am. Mm-hmm. And you cannot tell me, oh, it was the past, so forget. No. So why are we studying the history of Europe? I was in Congo and I knew better the history of Europe and Napoleon and Louis XIV and Charles V and Henry VIII. I was studying their history. Why do they spend so much time studying history and teaching history to their children? Because our history is where we gain the sense of self. We are like, if my ancestor did it, I can do it. But if we continue to perpetuate the history that if my ancestor were the slave master, then I'm supposed to be the one on top always. That's why you have some extreme wings that they don't want to let go of that position. Like, I don't own slaves, but my grandfather used to. So therefore, I'm be superior to the people that used to be enslaved. Right. So history has a very, very important role to play in the way we construct our idea of self. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's important to talk about history, to really put it. We have to make it simple. We have to make it do cartoons. We have to do comic books. We have to sing our heroes in music. We have to do movies. We have all these black movie makers. Where are the stories? We have kings and queens and fabulous history and all these things. Where are we in those fields? This is how we fight. We put our mind, our power to tell our own story.
Your Highness, you notice how Hollywood, they constantly keep putting out slave movies. And I think they do this to keep beating us in the brain that we were, slaves. We were slaves. And also it does something for the psyche of white people that they were on top, that they are superior. And when they do, this is the crazy part. When they do movies about ancient Egyptians and stuff, they use white people. They use white actors or Arabs, but they don't put the true people, images that reflect what the people actually really look like. All of this is an attack on us mentally.
Exactly. But we cannot say anything about the money. They do what they want with it. We are the one who have to decide what we want to do with our money, with our labor, with our work, because that's our power. What we are capable of doing is what gives us power. So when we work in the hospitals, when we work in the schools, when we work in the streets, when we work in the supermarket, when we work in the factories, where do we put our money? As soon as they're going to put this kind of movie, you're going to go and pay for it and go watch it? That's where you put your money. But the day we want to put our money into what we can do to elevate ourselves, it's okay. We cannot spend our time blaming them for doing what they do because it works for them. So they're going to continue doing it. And we can't tell them that they're stupid. We have no finger to point and say, oh, you should put me on blast in your movies. They're not going to do it. And it's okay. But then what is it that we do? Where is it that we put our power? How do we use our power? The little money we get, where we go buy, brand names from Italy and France, and we want a bag from this and that, and this name, and I'm not gonna make any publicity, but you know what I'm talking about. We want the shoes, the red bottom, but do you really think these people care about you?
Right.
You think these people want? We have seen the campaign, and I'm gonna give the name because the campaign of Gucci, putting black face, big old lips, looking like monkeys, and we still have to go and spend our money there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
some of us do, unfortunately. Yeah.
That's the great majority of them do. So all that is all linked together. All that is linked with the fact that we think we are not worthy. We think we are not worthy. We think that our ancestors are just not worthy. They didn't come with anything. Just because we were defeated military, doesn't mean that we were not, worthy. When we look at the history of humanity, the 2,000 years that just passed, or 3,000, is a blip. And for the majority of the time that humanity exists, we were the ones who were leading humanity, and we didn't lead it to humanity because we are still here. We didn't loot the oceans. We didn't go and massacre people, because if we did, we would not be so populated on the face of the earth. We went everywhere. We went everywhere, and everywhere one came to Africa, were welcome to Africa. Every time people came back to Africa, they were welcome.
Yeah.
So we have to understand that we are not these people. We have to start taking away from them the power to define us and the power to paint a picture of who we are. And this is going to require for us to be courageous. Because see, living in status quo doesn't require courage. You just live in status quo. You go about your business. Yes, once they step on you a little too hard, you scream ha, and then you go back to living in status quo. Just stepping out of your comfort zone takes courage, because stepping out of the comfort zone will oblige us to take a hard look at the truth, and that is not pretty, because there are so many things that we hold as being truth that have been lies, and they've been lies for thousands of years, and we don't go. Because we are afraid, if I let this go, what will become of it? And that's where and I said, don't you worry about what's going to become of you, because you are made of the best cloth of the divine principle. So we will overcome this too.
Ashe, I believe it.
Yeah, I was in a panel where we were speaking about the COVID-19 and the pandemic and the panic that everybody was under because of the pandemic. And I was like, make no mistake, most of the African people on this planet live under pandemic conditions every single day. Do you know that 4,000 children have died today in Africa? Do you know that
malaria
died yesterday in Africa? And do you know that 4,000 children will die tomorrow in Africa? So in 3 days, we are 12,000. So talk to me about the pandemic. Should I shake because there is COVID now? What about when they came and just rampage and ransack Africa? Wasn't that pandemic? What about me being locked up in a forced labor camp, generation after generation, never to know where my next meal will come from, or if I'm going to be raped or beaten or killed, or one of my children will be taken away from me? Isn't this pandemic?
Absolutely.
That was globally. That was not just the United States. That was globally for millions of people.
Yeah.
When we have the worst food in the world, isn't that a pandemic? When we're dying of cancer, and high blood pressure, and diabetes in the rate that is unbelievable.
Yeah.
We're dealing with pandemic conditions every day. When all my sons, because they are strong and violent and a little bit more assertive than others, end up in jail for no reason, or end up dead for no reason, is that not a pandemic condition?
Yes.
When I have no right to have a good education, and all they give me is training to believe that the fake system we are under is truth. Isn't this pandemic?
Yes.
The thing that is happening here, I can show you videos after videos after videos, the same police brutalities everywhere there are Black people in the world, including in Africa.
Yeah.
Because in Africa, the way we treat ourselves, we also inherited it from the Western paradigm. Yeah. They came to tell us that our life doesn't matter. So the situation requires us to make a serious assessment of our condition on a global scale, and to recognize that our fate is linked, and to recognize that we can devise solutions, but they have to be common solutions. We are powerful people. We have just to remember it, to know who we are, yes, and recognize the value, the added value that we bring into every single society in which we are. And this is also one thing I want to say. I would love to see all my babies come back to Africa. And coming back to Africa doesn't necessarily mean going to the land. Coming to Africa is a disposition. Mm-hmm. But come to Africa. But don't give up on what your ancestors worked so hard for. Here, that belongs to you too. That is also African heritage. Mm. Why would you forsake things that your ancestor built, things for which you contributed, and let then other people take advantage of? You have a right to what you worked for here for centuries, and you have a blood right for the land of your forefathers. Do you think they would ask the Israeli people or the people of Jewish faith to let go of the American? They want to go to Israel? No. They have nationality of America and they have Israeli nationality. They have the land here and they have the land over there. That's what we have to do. We have to stop thinking that they're going to like us and they're going to want us. They never did. But that cannot be the deterrent for us to claim what is rightfully ours. So we need our children in the Americas to hold on to what they have here, because this is also the source of power for the entire African people. If you are not in the house that makes the decision, the people who are going to make the decision for us are not going to be you anymore. You are in the house. Even if you are only in the kitchen, you are in that house and you know what's going on in that house. So we need you in that house. We need to be represented right here. So that right that you earned, your ancestors have earned with the tears, the blood, their life, their hard work, don't you ever think you have to forsake that for anything. Don't you ever think that you don't deserve it because somebody said they don't like you. You've earned it. It's yours. So is Africa. And that's why I want to build these bridges to collaborate. I'm here to do that. I'm here to go everywhere to talk about the necessity to recognize our power and to use our power. Today, in November, we're going to have elections. I want to talk a little bit about that. You can say, well, Queen, you're an American citizen, so are you Democrat? Are you Republican? Mostly all Black people are Democrats. Why? Oh, you want to be Republican? Why? Why would I be? I want to be my own political party and vote for whoever is going to do something good for my community. But if the African people were to unite in that sense and say, we vote as a bloc, nobody gets our vote for granted just because they are Democrats or whatever. Anyone who wants our vote has to come around the table and show us what we're going to get. We don't care if it's a Republican or a Democrat or whatever, if he's blue or yellow. We care to see what is it that you're going to implement during your presidency. Are you going to implement policies that are going to favor, prosperity and actions to make sure that we have better education, better housing, better jobs? But if you're not going to do that, you don't get our vote.
Right.
You don't need to be putting people dancing in conventions and looking Afro and looking, how they call it, multicolor rainbow and no. I don't need that to feel like I belong to this or that party. I prefer to be independent and then take a look. What is it that you're putting on the table for me? Yeah, it's bait. Yeah, bait me. Because without my vote, you're not going to be sitting in that office. That's power.
Yeah.
It's not violent. It's just telling the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Telling the truth. We know now that nobody gives care about our lives. Our Black life doesn't matter. We can shout it everywhere. It's nice to say Black life matter. We know in reality that it doesn't. So if I matter, maybe I vote well. But not in the sense that, oh, we're going to just be with the Democrats or we're going to be with the Republicans. No. They have to bait us for our vote. They have to bait us with goodies, like every other lady does. My Jewish friends, my Italian friends, my Chinese and Asian friends, that's how they vote.
Right.
They vote as a block. Our money, where do we put our money? There are very brilliant minds that have spoken a great length about it. What is not changing, not clicking for us to not understand that we can no longer put our money to benefit other people. We have to use our money for ourselves. What's wrong with me? A dress that's made by an African tailor or get my hair done by my sister. Why do I have to go spend my money to people and put the money in the hands of people who don't care about me? For whom
that one, Sister, Your Highness, hey, we've been screaming this one for years, telling Black people to buy Black, shop with Black people, do business with Black people. I don't know what the problem is.
Okay.
Honestly, I don't.
I think that we've been talking about the problem. The problem is that we don't know who we are. So we don't have esteem for ourselves. We don't esteem ourselves. So this is why I do healing work. This is why I do healing ceremonies, because there are things that we cannot obtain by just talking to people and explaining to people. Some things have to be done to transcend those gatekeepers, because the gatekeepers are the ones who are versed into this paradigm, into serving this culture. So the behaviors we're going to have are going to be behaviors that are going to serve the same paradigm. So we even if we don't want to, we behave. Just read the Lynch letters. They explain to you how we're going to make sure that you're going to be a customer for the rest of your life, because we're going to do this and this. So they use psychology to get this, and it's been a work.
Break us.
I'm sorry, I have somebody that was trying to call me. That's why I'm gonna. Yeah. So this is what I say when we have to sit down and talk. We have to sit down and talk. The talking is one thing, but then we have to do healing rituals. How do you heal men who have been abused, raped, beaten for generations after generation after generation, who have been taken the power to provide, protect, and procreate? They have been stripped that power. When I say procreate, I mean procreation, to be there to help creation, not just to pop babies everywhere, but to protect and provide. When they stripped our men the ability to do so for centuries, how do we now help these men stand up and recover, their humanhood and their manhood that is not in their pants, but is in the capacity to protect and provide and to help the creation of their community? Those are rituals. We have to sit together. We have to speak to each other. We have to speak truth to what is it that this experience. We have to remind men and have men, help men grow, help our young men grow and go to those rituals that are initiation rituals and rites of passage rituals. They are meant for a reason, and all the other cultures do them. There are reasons why women have to sit in circle on the ground when one of our babies is killed like this. Why do we sit in the morning in a circle with and we speak to water? Huh?
Yeah.
There are reasons for all these things. Those are not, folkloric or oogie-boogie. Those are sciences
Right.
mastered by our ancestors. So we have to be curious and to say, no, we're not going to accept what you tell us we are. We want to find out for ourselves. There are enough
Right.
scholars out there, and especially in this hemisphere. You have access to all these libraries, all these online libraries, all these online, YouTubes and documentaries and research and books. I'm asking our people to put this information and to make sure this information is easy for us to understand the meaning of this. I'm asking our people to put this information and to make this truth. So that's what I believe. That's what the direction in which we have to go. We have to accept that the truth is not an easy process. To look at the truth, to reveal the truth, will be very painful for everybody. Because when I talk about our Black men who were raped and beaten and so forth, that means that there was somebody doing it to them.
Yeah.
So that truth, nobody wants to be the descendant of a rapist of Black men and abuser and killer of children. Nobody wants to be that man or woman. So the truth is the only thing that can put light, can cast light into this whole paradigm and why things are operating the way they are. Once we have accepted who we are and we realize how valuable we are, we will not let anybody take us for granted anymore. They will not take our vote for granted. They will not take our money for granted. They will not take our approval for granted. But it will require sacrifice. And this, my sister, is where the hardship comes. Because if I tell you, all the African people of the world will not consume this product during 1 week, what happens? We have the social
They will be,
to put it out there.
Yeah.
I received a message today on the 7th of July. No, Black people are not buying anything in the world. We're not spending any money unless it's an emergency. If we are able to undertake such actions, not to hurt anyone, but to feel our own power, to understand our own strength when we are together, then I guarantee you, my sister, Black life will matter.
I should. Man, well, you're absolutely right. I agree with you 100%. Unity, our coming together, recognizing that we are one African body. When we see other Black people, no matter where they're from, and this is something all these people that are on here can tell you that I have been saying the exact same thing that you're saying. Our people in Brazil, if they are suffering in Brazil, and they are, and we know they are, then that should be a problem for all of us. Yes. If they are being murdered in Colombia, which we know they are, and they're suffering in Colombia, that should be a problem for all of us. So we have to stop looking at each other as, okay, this is just the Black American thing, or that's their problem over there in Haiti, or that's their problem over there in Cuba, and come together as one global African family, because that, I am convinced, is the only solution. And you're absolutely right. Technology allows us to link together and communicate with each other, and to unite and to share what's happening with us in different parts of the world. And I think it's important. It's important for us in America to know what's happening to our people in Brazil, to know what's happening to our people in Haiti or wherever. We have to know these things, and we have to come up with some kind of way to provide assistance and help, because they need to know that they're not alone. Just like it meant something for me for the people on the African continent to say, we are here, we understand what's happening, and we're going to stand up for you. You know, that means something. So I feel it's imperative that we all have to raise our voice, like you said, when our people were being attacked in China, or, you know, wherever, in India, wherever African people are under attack, we can't be silent about it. We have to come, you know, we have to come up with some kind of way to help each other. And even if it's something just showing, hey, we see what's happening to you, we stand in solidarity with you. That in and of itself gives people, it makes you feel like you're not alone. There's some other Black people in the world who care about what's happening to me. And I think that's important.
Yeah, because if it hadn't been for the pressure that African American people, Africans in Africa put, for instance, change the apartheid regime of South Africa, our brothers in South Africa would still be under, you know, apartheid regime. So we do have the ability to understand when the stakes are so high. But now that our ancestors have worked so we can have this technology, because there again, I want to make sure we understand that if we have this technology, it's thanks to Africa. Because if it wasn't for the binary coding system of information, we would never have computer. And also the computer work and invented by African people in the Americas. Okay, there's a lot of all this technology. If our ancestors worked so hard to leave us with this information, so we can have this technology. We know that a lot of blood goes into these devices, but if we use these devices according to what we need to, so we can elevate our people, then we give grace to all the ones who lost their lives, so we can have this technology, and all the ones who have put forth their knowledge and their hard work. So yes, I go myself as much as I can to different places, because I'm still very old school and I still think we have to see each other. But I learned fast. You know, I learned to use Zoom and platforms, and I'm very thankful that my children and my brothers are welcoming me to speak my words of hope, and not only hope, but these are things we can do. You know, like every clothes that I will wear will be clothes manufactured by my African sisters. You
know,
it's a decision.
You know. You know, before COVID-19, it was the plan, the mission of the Sankofa Repatriation Assistance Program to travel to do a city-to-city tour, and, you know, even internationally. We wanted to go down. We had plans. I was supposed to actually this month be in Colombia to talk to our people about, you know, what the work we're doing to try to help them that want to go back to the African continent, and to do a city-to-city tour here, because I found that a lot of the issues that we have, a lot of our people, like you say, are disconnected from Africa mentally. And that is something that has to happen for us to be able to unify, to see each other as one African body. So I wanted to do, and hopefully when COVID is over and we're able to travel again, I do want to still do that. And I would love for you to go to some of these events with us as we travel around the world, to basically highlight African culture, to highlight Africa, and to dispel some of the negative propaganda and the negative things that our people have in their mind about Africa, and to let them know that Africa has everything that they show you, the negative thing. That's just a small bit. Africa is very beautiful. I mean, breathtakingly beautiful. You know, but these people will never show. They don't want to show any of that. You know. And the opportunities, because in the world, the emerging markets were on the continent of Africa prior to COVID-19. If you really, really, really wanted opportunity, Africa is the place to be, because it has been so grossly underdeveloped, but now it's starting to. We are in the transition. I keep telling people, I think people feel it as well. The change, the winds of change is happening. We will rise again. We are in the beginning of the rise of Africa again. And I know that these people know that. So that pandemic could be their way of trying to stop it, you know, because last year Yes, last year, because the last thing they want is for us to do what we're sitting here talking about doing, which is the unification of African people worldwide. These people don't want that to happen because they know as soon as that happens, it's over for them. Their reign of terror will be over. You understand? But
what you just said, my sister, is like it's over for their rule of terror, but it's not over for them because we are not them. We not so we're not gonna we don't want to develop Africa so that we can go and conquer the world and murder people. This is not
no. I'm not talking about that.
It's over for that rule of terror and predatorial
exactly.
And they are very afraid because that's all they know. So we have to be the ones showing that there is another way to do things. And when we say we want to go to Africa, and when we talk about development, and this is why I'm often time in platform where we talk about economics and development, is that we also have to have the responsibility of saying what kind of development we want for Africa. Do we want to create the same insanity in Africa so we can pollute, we can and pollute, or we want to say no. Now that we know what we know, when we're going to do development in Africa, we're going to work with the communities locally. We're going to see what is it that they really need, because I don't need to have my people in my villages stressed out like everybody that is in New York City running around after a subway. I don't want that life for me.
Right.
We have an obligation to reconcile with the wisdom of our ancestors, with the Mahat, with the laws, the universal laws of Mahat, to say, what is sound? Everything that glitter is not gold. So do we want all the glitter, or we want something that is going to yield to a sound lifestyle that is in harmony with Mother Nature, that where we don't deplete the resources, we don't pollute, we don't create a climate of constant stress and havoc, where now people are popping pills just to make it the next day. They're popping pill to fall asleep, and this is so we have a great opportunity here. And I don't invite just Africans. I don't mind anybody think about what is it that we have to do for the continent, because what we will do with this continent, or the direction we will take in the continent, will be the direction the world will take, because Africa is bound to become the leader of humanity, because this is where you can see everything is vibrant. So therefore, all the wealth that you have accumulated from your ancestors' work, all that wealth, all that knowledge, all that wisdom, you have to come to the land and match it with the ancestors, the wealth that they accumulated there. Because although we may look, poor and this and that, there's a lot of stuff that seem to be not okay. There is one thing that is admirable about the African continent. No matter where you go and no matter how poor it looks, we have mastered the art of living. And this, my sister, is what some billionaires pay thousands and thousands of dollars to go get in seminars in some islands and with gurus to get that spark of life, lively. Because it's becoming like a robot so this is something that we have mastered in Africa, and we're still holding on to it, because this is why we are able to survive under the worst condition possible. Life thrives despite an environment that seems to be hostile. So we have to understand what is it about and reconnect with that force. And there, with all our assets that we put together, we definitely will help change the paradigm and bring about another way of living together on the planet where everybody feels safe.
Yes, absolutely. Man, this has been a very powerful show, and the comments, they are loving you, Your Highness. They are absolutely loving you.
And if I want to say one thing, I'm wearing a crown that's visible, but every single one of you, every single one of the sons and daughters of Africa have a crown on their heads. They may not see the crown. You see this one. This one belongs to you. I only wear it because we can only put it, but it belongs to every single one of you. But every single one of you have a crown. And the crown is your responsibility to be the best human being you can be. And to put forward your best foot to make sure that you thrive in your own life and you help the people in your community thrive also thrive also. So it's our responsibility. Our kingdom is the responsibility. We each are a kingdom. And I want to see people really engage into that. Learn about who you are. Africa is mind-blowing, mind-blowing. The type of information that I was just reading a book earlier about so much information that I didn't even know about. Every day I discover new information about Africa. And amazing things, not just like, oh, amazing things like, oh, wow, this is going to change the world. So we need to understand what we are. And we also need to study the history of others and debunk all the lies.
Yes.
All the lies that are bricks. Every single lie is a brick of the pedestal they build to put themselves on top. Once we take all those lies away, we're going to see the collapse of this whole edifice that is built on brutal violence and lies. And it's not just the African people. It's for the benefit of all. Because there is also a fear for them that, oh, if the system collapses, what are we going to become? No, don't worry about it. We're not you.
Right.
So 10% of the population is white and 90% is black. Did you hear about massacres of even 1% of the white people there?
No.
We didn't do that. That's not who we are.
Right.
We need to teach the ones who are not capable of understanding the peaceful behaviors. They need to understand there's another way of living. And if they carry on this way because they don't know there is another way. So that's our responsibility to show that there is another way. But that doesn't mean that we have to just accept that we are doormats and everybody just come and wipe their feet on us. I'm not saying that. Because if you are a doormat, you will be outside by the door. Don't complain.
Well, and that's what has happened. Because like you said, and I said this recently, according to their own people, when they encountered us all over the world, they talked about how peaceful and welcoming we were, indigenous people, and how, there was no crime, there was no murder, there was no nothing, and everybody was. They themselves wrote about us in this way. So therefore, and they saw this as a weakness in our. I don't think it's a weakness, but they took advantage of this, and this is what it has led us to today, our current condition. And again, so we definitely do have to learn that we have to defend ourselves.
Well, that's what I say when I say learn about the history. Because when you look at European, my mother's European, so I kind of like have a good perspective into how they think. And but when you look at the history of Europe, for the past 3,000 years, it has been nothing but excessive brutality among themselves, wars.
Absolutely.
Hundreds of years, killing after killing, torturing, and that's not because of it's not. So I'm like, it's not about our skin. It's not about our skin color. No. It's about something else. It's about ensuring their safety, because they think safety only comes at the price of spilling the blood of the people that are not you. But we can say there's another way. But that's all they knew when they came to Africa. They've been with Africa, European and African. They've always known. It's not a time where you say, "Oh, whoops! Now we know there's an Africa." Europeans have always known about Africa, and they've interacted with us for thousands of years. But we also saw what they were doing. All they did were fight. The last big war is the Kosovo War, but before that we have what they call World War II. Millions, they kill each other by millions. Look at the weapons they invented. So what does that tell you about their mindset? Their mindset are fear and not being safe. And our mindset is the complete opposite. It's like we're not afraid, we are safe, and we have everything we need. So when you have these people meeting us, this is why we are where we are. But we can also, there are many of them who are eager to understand and to live different lives. That's why they go all over the world and try to meet the wise people of different cultures and meditate and do yoga. because they know that there must be another way. So many are looking, and I've done a lot of work with my European, families, and a lot of healing work, because even that burden is too heavy for them to carry. But first, we have to take care of ourselves. First, we have to make sure that we regain control of who we are. Because once we know who we are, there is many things that we will no longer accept to go through. It will not work. It will not work anymore. And not even because we have to do something, but just because we are. So by changing ourselves, we are changing the entire system.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I know I've had you now for more than an hour, going on 2, so I know you have a lot to do. And I just want to say thank you so much. And I look forward to you coming back again, definitely, because you've been dropping some real jewels and words of wisdom. And we want to continue to encourage our people to do this healing work that you speak of, because it is definitely needed. It's definitely needed. And I want to say thank you again. Is there anything in closing you would like to say to our people?
It's all about love. And love is not a mushy, feeling, romantic feeling. Love is an energy. Love is a potent energy, because love is the energy that manifests everything that exists. So we have to understand that we have the mastery of loving. We have to connect with that. And healing, we can start our healing ourselves. Once you make a decision that you want to be healed, once you make a decision that you accept that you have gone through excessive trauma, because of the history we've lived, and you want to heal, you will be graced with healing. You have to just make sure that you put your consciousness on the fact that you want to restore your humanhood, and you want to regain your integrity. And that's something that we can do together. And I do it for all of you. I love you. I send you all my love. And I know I receive a bunch of love, because if not, I wouldn't be here today. So thanks to all like my Sister Yaa. Thank you for inviting me to your show, and I follow you as well. I will be following all the other shows, so I can.
Oh, thank you. I'm on. I feel special now.
Oh, you were special. You demand.
All right, Your Highness. Thank you so much, and we'll be bringing you back again. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye-bye.